Knowledge is the first way out. No one can learn for you. There's no applause for the one who wakes up at 3 a.m. to study something no one else cares about. No spotlight shines on an old wooden table where a teenage boy sits hunched over a flickering computer, trying to decode a language no one around him speaks. But that's where my journey began. And I believe without those nights, I wouldn't be the man telling this story today. I was 16. To my classmates, I was the quiet kid. To my parents, the hard-headed one. But in my own eyes, life was a question too big for the answers I was being given. Teachers repeated what was in the books. My father kept saying, learn a trade, make some money, be realistic. But I couldn't pretend that was enough. I didn't believe being realistic was the only way to live. One day, I stumbled upon an old computer collecting dust in the back of the school's supply room. It was massive, clunky, with a blinking green screen and a plastic shell turned yellow by time. I asked the janitor. He shrugged and said, if it still works, knock yourself out. Nobody touches it anyway. So I did. I borrowed a torn-up Pascal programming book from the library, its cover nearly falling off, pages yellowed and stained. No one noticed. No one cared. But I did. Each night, after my mom and sister went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table, flipped on a small lamp, and fired up that stubborn old machine. The first line of code I typed returned in angry red. Syntax error. I had no clue what it meant, but I wrote it down. Tried again, failed again, and kept going. Learning to code wasn't really about computers. It was about learning to be patient with myself, especially when no one else understood or believed in what I was doing. I started feeling different, but I wasn't yet brave enough to believe that being different was good. That question kept buzzing in my head. Is this useful, or am I just fooling myself? I didn't have an answer, but I knew I didn't want to stop. Not because I thought I was smarter than anyone else, but because I had never found anything that made me this curious. Never found anything that made me lose track of time like this. Night after night, while the world slept, I tapped away at the keyboard, stumbled through broken code, read half-torn pages by a flickering desk lamp. No teacher, no study group, no one asking, "What are you working on?" But I had one thing, a hunger to understand how the world worked, through my own mind, on my own terms. I was just a kid, tinkering alone in the dark. There was an old storage room behind the school library. No one went in there. Broken desks, a ceiling fan that creaked louder than the clock, peeling paint, and the smell of moldy textbooks. But that's where I saw it. A dusty, half-dead computer tossed beneath a forgotten bookshelf. I asked the janitor. He waved his hand. That thing? Been dead for years. If it still boots, take it. No one touches it. So I did. I asked for some spare cables, grabbed a few programming books that were falling apart, and packed everything on the back of my bike. No one cared, but I did. That afternoon, I pedaled home with the computer tied to the rear rack. My mother asked, "What's that you're dragging around?" "Old stuff from school," I replied. She didn't ask more. From that night on, when the house went silent, I sat alone by the kitchen table. The computer whirred like an old engine. I opened a torn Pascal manual, turned on the desk lamp, and started to tinker. I wasn't good at math. Didn't speak much. didn't fit in with the loud kids at school. But I knew what obsession felt like. And I felt it when I typed lines of code I barely understood, chasing something no one else saw. Some nights, I stayed up until 3 a.m., stuck on a bug. Sometimes, I rewrote the same code 28 times before realizing I missed a semicolon. I'd laugh, tears in my eyes, half crazy, half proud. No one knew. No one asked. And I didn't need anyone to validate me. I documented everything. Every frozen screen, every stupid mistake, every dumb crash. Under that dim light, I wasn't the mechanic's son anymore. I was someone trying to create something with nothing but curiosity in my own mind. I remember one night, my dad walked into the kitchen. He squinted. "You're still up?" I nodded. He sighed. "Still punching away at that junk? You've got school tomorrow, you know." Then he walked off. I just sat there, chest tight, unsure. I was scared. Scared I was wasting my time. Scared no one would ever care about what I was building. Scared I was just running away from the path my father had already laid out for me. But I didn't stop. Not because I was sure, but because stopping would mean giving up the one thing I still believed in. I would later learn, some paths don't come with a guide. You figure them out on your own. You mess up. You fix it. And sometimes, the only reason you keep going is because you've already gone too far to turn back. I made my first $200 with just my mind. I never thought the code I wrote in silence could be worth anything. When I started, I did it out of curiosity. No grades, no teacher, no deadline. Just this quiet voice asking, could this ever become something real? And then, one day, it did. There was a small grocery store down the street. Mr. Paul, the owner, let me hang around sometimes to check out his pricing machine. One afternoon, he complained his inventory system kept crashing. Handwritten notes, jumbled spreadsheets, wrong prices everywhere. I hesitated, then asked, "What if I made you a simple program just to track weekly inventory? Would you try it?" He laughed. "You know how to do that?" I nodded. Truth was, I only had a sketch of what it might look like. That night, I got to work. 4 straight nights. No sleep. I wrote a basic app. Add stock. Track sales. Alert when low. The interface was ugly, but it worked. On day 5, I brought a floppy disk, loaded the code into his machine, and held my breath. It ran. No errors. No crash. Not fancy, but it told him what he was out of and what to reorder. Mr. Paul stared at the screen, then quietly reached into a drawer. He pulled out a wad of cash, counted out $200, and handed it to me. "It's not much, but you built it from scratch. That's something." I froze. No one had ever paid me that much, especially not for something I'd taught myself. That night, I didn't go straight home. I walked around the park. The wind was sharp, but my thoughts sharper. I looked at my hands. $200 earned not by force, not by chance, not by who I knew, earned through my mind. Through hours of aching fingers, late nights, and code no one else believed in. Through something my father had once called a waste of time. For the first time in my life, I thought, I actually did it. And that feeling, no one else could have given it to me. I had to step into it. earn it, fumble into it, one key at a time. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine, and it was glorious. Knowledge is the first capital for those with nothing. I used to think changing your life required money, or at least someone to open a door, a chance, a connection, a hand pulling you up. But that night, holding the $200 I earned with nothing but my mind, I learned something else. There's a kind of capital more powerful than all the rest. Knowledge. No one taught me how to code. No one forced me to learn. There were no tuition fees, no certificates, no mentors. Just quiet nights asking one question: can I make something valuable out of this? And eventually, the answer came. Not with fanfare, but with proof. When I handed Mr. Paul that simple program, his eyes changed. He didn't see a neighborhood kid anymore. He saw someone who could solve a problem. Just one look, but it told me everything. Your worth isn't stamped by the school you attend. It's written in the problems you know how to solve. That feeling stayed with me. The idea that I could walk into any room, not rich, not well connected, but with something that made people stop and listen. What I knew, knowledge is a passport, the first ticket to freedom a poor kid can print for himself. I didn't have rich relatives, no insider contacts, no business plan, no polished words. But I knew if I kept learning, kept writing, kept understanding one more line of code each day, I was building something. A bridge from stuck to possible. And the best part? No one could take that from me. Not a soul. They could laugh. They could doubt. They could talk down. But they couldn't unlearn what I had taught myself. That's the only kind of power someone with nothing still gets to keep. Am I learning for the future, or just chasing a dream? After selling that first piece of software, I started learning more. Not just for the money, but because, for the first time, what I built actually helped someone. It was useful, tangible, real. But that's also when the tension with my father grew deeper. He didn't understand why I spent every night glued to that old machine instead of picking up a job like the other kids. One evening, after dinner, he called me in. "I'm not stopping you from learning," he said. "But is what you're learning ever going to feed you?" I didn't answer. He continued, "Be realistic. You're not getting hired for this stuff. The HVAC shop needs people. I know the boss. Work hard. In a few years, you'll be stable." I stayed quiet, just looked at my hands. The same hands that had written hundreds of lines of code, now being treated like they were wasting time. I didn't blame him. He wasn't cruel. He just came from another world. A world where people survived with their hands, their backs, their obedience. And I was trying to imagine a different world. One where people live through thoughts, through something invisible, but precise. But how do you explain that to someone who believes being realistic is the only way to live? So I stopped trying. I stopped sharing what I was learning. Stopped talking about the joy of fixing a stubborn bug. Stopped mentioning the new app I was building. I just kept going, quietly, moving forward as if speaking it aloud would pull me back. I remember the tug of war inside me. Part of me wanted to be seen, to be understood. But another part knew if I needed someone's approval to keep going, then I wasn't strong enough to go far. So I rebelled, not by shouting, not by slamming doors, just by showing up, night after night, when the house was quiet, with nothing but a glowing screen and the steady rhythm of keys. You don't need to be understood, just understand yourself. I started to realize something important. If you live for others to understand you, you'll never build anything that matters. There will always be people who doubt you, who don't get it, who can't see the value in what you're doing. And sometimes, the people closest to you are the first to question you, not because they hate you, but because they can't see what you see. I didn't blame my father, but I didn't stop for him either. I kept learning, coding, reading, setting little assignments for myself each week, fixing old programs, making my code tighter, cleaner, smarter. I tracked my growth in fewer bugs, shorter scripts, faster logic. No applause, no audience. That was fine. Once, I handed a floppy disk to the local print shop owner, an older woman from a Chinese family, asking if she'd test a new program I'd built to track customer orders. A few days later, she said, "It works. You made this?" I nodded. She didn't say much else, just looked at me and said, "If you ever need work, come by." It wasn't praise, but it wasn't dismissal either. And I realized I didn't need everyone to understand anymore. I just needed to know where I was going. At that point, loneliness didn't feel like a burden. It was just part of the process. I sat alone in that kitchen, watching white code scroll across a black screen, and felt calm. No boasting, no posts, no need for the world to clap. Just one goal: keep going. Not for anyone else, just because I knew I was heading somewhere worth reaching. Alone with mistakes, no one to help. No one taught me how to handle errors. Not the bugs in the program, but the ones in me. The false confidence. The moments I thought I got it, only to crash everything. Spending 3 hours chasing a glitch, only to find I'd misspelled one stupid variable. No one said, "This is where you went wrong." There was no Ask Teacher button, no online forums, no YouTube tutorials, no ChatGPT. Just me, alone, with a whiny old computer that screamed every time I rebooted, and a notebook full of scribbles, logic maps, and half-baked solutions. I cried once over a bug I couldn't fix. It made me feel dumb, like really dumb, like maybe I was just pretending I could do this, like I'd tricked myself into thinking I was smart enough. And worst of all, no one was there to say, "It's okay, try again." I almost deleted everything. Thought, just quit. You're not cut out for this. Finger hovering over the key, ready to trash it all. But I didn't. I left the frozen screen, got up, drank some cold water, came back, stared at that code like it had personally insulted me. Then, line by line, I rewrote the function, changed the loop, tweaked the logic, ran it again, still broke, tried again, and finally, a little message on the screen, data updated successfully. Just 6 words. But it felt like I'd won a war. And that's when I understood no one's coming to fix your mistakes. No mentor, no manual. It's just you. You can be taught to code, but no one teaches you how to endure, how to sit in the fog, how to feel stupid and not give up, how to be alone with your failure and stay. I didn't become smarter that night, but I learned something better than syntax. It's not the mistake that defeats you. It's being too afraid to fix it. Self-learners learn how to stand back up. Every time I fixed a bug, I wasn't just getting better at coding. I was learning something deeper about myself. The technical stuff? That's surface level. What really mattered was this. Could I face myself? Stay calm when wrong. Stay focused when tired. Stay steady when no one believed in me. I started treating errors like emotional drills, tests of patience, tests of growth. One night, I rewrote an old program from scratch just to do it better. Cleaner, smarter, took less time, fewer bugs. And when I saw success flash on screen, I smiled quietly to myself. No one else saw it. This silent progress, this private victory. But I knew, today I had gotten better. No grades, no trophies, no audience. Just this voice inside saying, "You didn't give up." I made my own goals, my own learning plan, tracked my own wins, rewarded myself with a cookie or a midnight coffee. And those little things, they made me feel alive. Not drifting, not stuck, just moving, step by step, with meaning. Looking back, I can say this. Self-learning isn't just about knowledge. It's about getting back up, again and again. No tutor, no cheerleader, no punishment, just you. You fall, you rise, you rebuild the bricks of confidence, one by one. I wasn't learning to escape poverty, but to understand myself. When I first started learning, it was about escape. Escape poverty. Escape the factory. Escape being just another nobody. I learned to earn, to survive, to prove. But somewhere along the way, that changed. I realized, if you're only learning to run away from something, you'll burn out fast. But if you're learning to move towards something, you'll last longer. I wasn't just learning to eat. I was learning because I belonged here. Each line of code felt like a mirror. The short ones like words I hadn't dared to say. The rigid ones like all the feelings I had locked away. The broken ones like the parts of me I thought no one saw. But when it ran, when it worked, I felt whole again. Not perfect, just honest. I no longer needed to impress anyone. I didn't crave recognition. I just wanted to keep learning. Because every time I understood something new, I understood myself more. That night, after finishing the second update for the print shop app, I didn't tell anyone. I just opened my window, took a deep breath, and thought, I'm not learning to survive anymore. I'm learning to live true. Knowledge takes root long before anyone sees it. No one in my house noticed I was changing. I still ate dinner on time, still swept the floor, still took the same bus, still answered yes sir when called. But inside, something was growing, quietly, slowly, steadily, like roots. I no longer hated our tiny kitchen. I cherished it. That corner with the yellow lamp, that old computer humming like a tired dog, that place where every error became a lesson. I didn't need applause, didn't need spotlights, because knowledge, when it truly takes root, makes no noise. I realized something. People only notice you when you bloom, but they never see the time you spent growing roots. And roots are what keep you standing. When the storms come, my code wasn't elegant, wasn't cutting edge, wasn't AI, but it was mine. And with every key I tapped, I could hear myself more clearly. I didn't need to succeed overnight. I just needed to not stop. I thought of my father, who still didn't get what I was doing, and I smiled, because now I didn't need him to understand. I understood myself, and that was enough to keep going.
My father once told me, the moment he finished writing his first software was the moment he truly believed he could live a life not dependent on anyone, but on what he knew and what he believed. Not everyone saw it, and not everyone had to, because knowledge, as he said, always takes root in silence, and one day it will grow. If you're learning something no one else understands, if you're walking a path no one claps for, keep walking. That might be your very first way out. Your own. Hello everyone, I'm Lily, the youngest daughter of Victor Dominic. My father shared these stories, not to be remembered, but to remind us. Everyone deserves a new beginning, even the broken ones. Some names and places have been changed for privacy, but Free Your Soul is real, and it's the most precious legacy he left us. Today, I'm sharing it with you, hoping it reaches someone who needs a quiet, gentle whisper. Thank you for listening with your heart. I'll see you in the next stories.